To welcome you tonight to our webinar, Everything You Wanted to Know About Office Design But Were Afraid to Ask. I'm Dr. Bill Huntzinger. I'm here with our head architect, Jim Jarvis, and also our head designer, HanH Tran. A lot of you may know Han. He's a regular on Dental Town. He actually has a course on Dental Town, which I know some of you have taken. It's excellent. In fact, it's really, really quite good. In fact, it was one of those courses I wish I would have taken before I built the many offices that I built. But anyway, again, I'd like to thank you guys for your time tonight. And those in the Eastern time zone, we're up late. You guys on the West Coast, you're probably just getting done. So we're going to walk through some slides, and then we're going to be taking questions at the end of the presentation. This should last about an hour tonight. And just save them, or just start typing them in, and we'll answer them as we go. This is kind of a free-for-all. So let's go ahead and start the program. A little bit about the course, as you can see, or another fine thing they never taught us in dental school. Many of you know I actually graduated from Case Western in 1980, and the only thing I knew how to do back then was how to put amalgams in, which many of you probably have never even heard of or seen. But they didn't teach us anything about business. They didn't teach us anything about running an office, designing an office, nothing. So over the years, I kind of was self-taught, you can say. I was in partnerships that failed. I've built offices that I wish I would not have built that way. But we started out with a real little storefront office in beautiful Swanton, Ohio. And this actually shows that staple and insurance sign you see right there is where our office used to be on Main Street in Swanton. The upper left is a office building we had rented. It's a medical arts building that we were in for a while. And that other building next to Wendy's, which is a great location because I love Wendy's, was an old building with what they call Michigan cellar underneath, which was a nightmare. So those are just some of the places I've lived in and remodeled. Right now we're up to 6 dentists as well as working with an orthodontist. I have 18 front desk people. I have 27 assistants, 9 hygienists. We've got 3 locations. We're about to go to 4. We own our own dental lab. We've also got CEREC machines and all kinds of fun stuff. I've loved this profession. I wrote my 8th grade career book on being a dentist, and my son Andrew's actually in business with me here in Northwest Ohio. So one of the things that happened is about 9 years ago, we built our first building, and as it turned out, over all these years, I kept thinking, gosh, there's got to be an easier way to do this. So as we started to build the second building, we decided that there was a better way to do it. So I sat down with Han and Jim, and we formed HanH Design Group, and the goal of this business is to help dentists just get through this thing a lot easier. Any of you that have done any of this work before know how difficult it can be. I've gone to lots of courses on trying to design and build offices and where to put them and just about everything you can imagine. But like I said, we started in a downtown storefront. I was with a partner who made a decision that we needed to remodel a 100-year-old farmhouse. And honestly, that was one of the worst decisions we made. We were in a great location, but every time that we opened a wall or moved something or looked at plumbing, it was another issue. And Jim and Han can tell you about change orders. Change orders are very expensive. You don't want to have change orders when you do a building. You want to have it all figured out ahead of time, so that's what we did. You can see that many times I've remodeled, we've expanded. I've made about every mistake you can possibly make in how to do offices. One of the things we did learn is you never remodel a 100-year-old farmhouse. If you like that piece of ground, tear that building down and build a new one. And sometimes you can remodel the right building. If you look, the yellow house on the right was the one we actually designed and remodeled. It actually came out pretty well. On the left, that old house, we tore that one down. We learned very quickly that one needed to go. So when you start thinking about building, you got to know how you want to practice. Are you busy enough to expand? Have you got the numbers figured out? What does the market want? Are you set up for your transition? Do you have enough? Are you going to build enough operatories? Is it going to be a big enough building? And as far as rat holes, I've bought 7 dental practices over the years, and it's unbelievable to go into some of these guys' offices and you just can't believe that they're working in them. it's horrible. It's unbelievably horrible. And again, we sat down and tried to figure out how many ops we use, how many hygienists do we have, where do we want to go, we're going to add staff. All these affect your square footage. You know, are you busy enough? You know, is your schedule to a hold? Do you need more ops? Do you need more hygiene time? Does your consultant say that, gee, you know, it's time to expand your business? And all these things are just like a checklist, and a lot of you guys have already done this. How many hours are you scheduled? How many hygiene appointments? You're going to add somebody? What's your budget? Oh, and goal setting. You know, and you sit down and just crunch the numbers, and that's what we've always done. You know, there are more dentists. You know, you know, you got to look out to the future and see what's going on. As we all know right now, things have been a little bit slow. You know, we had the downturn in '08, and a lot of us are getting back to where we were in '08. I mean, some of the guys are doing better, but it's been challenging. You know, in Toledo, Ohio, it's a Rust Belt city, so it's been challenging. Location. You know, 85% of appointments are made by women, and I got to tell you, the three top places women love to go to are grocery stores, the gas station, and the bank. So, if there's an opportunity to build near there, that's what you want to do. We basically did that. Right now, as you're transitioning, there have been more sellers than buyers. So you got to make your practice somewhat attractive. And are you going to stay on? And you know, what does the building look like? And as you can see in this next photograph we have, that's actually one of my old offices. Before I figured this out, before I started looking, had somebody else come and look at it. You can see the old Naugahyde orange and brown really looks nice. And that's how our lab looked. And you could actually walk down the hallway of our office into the office and look into that lab. So take a look around. We went through all these steps. We decided we were going to do it. We talked to the equipment guys. We didn't know what to do. We read articles. We actually went to the Southwest Dental meeting and took a course from some of the big names in building. I used up 27 legal pads. I talked to a friend. That was really smart. I hired a construction advisor. We interviewed architects, engineers. We got estimates, banks, bids, lots of. It's really a pain, guys. It's really a challenge. And so again, you go through all these steps, and what we decided to do was to form this business and cut out a lot of these steps. And it just saves you a lot of time. And if you're like us, time is money. You know, why us? Well, we connect the equipment design and architect from the beginning, and it gives better results. It saves you time and money. The practice is designed, and then the building is integrated around it. And I got to tell you, Han and Jim know this business. They're very creative. They know dentistry. Han has fielded unbelievably amount of questions on Dental Town. He's a moderator on there. If he hasn't heard it, it hasn't been asked or posted. So I just wanted to give you a quick overview of where I was coming from into this business in this webinar. So like I said, I've been around quite a while, and what I would like to do is hand this webinar over to the really smart guys in the room who really understand the design and the architecture and the building, and let them go ahead and get going on this. So Jim, are you next? Han, you're next, my friend. Let me introduce HanH Tran, our head designer.
I am next. Good evening, everyone. Well, Bill has gone through a number of things that should scare the heck out of you already. Is that the first thing is that when you're about to embark on the journey of building a new practice, it's going to cost you a ton of money. It's going to be probably more complex than you assume. You will need to have an army of people that are well trained and know their stuff and on top of the game. One of the most important things is that you should allow yourself time and invest adequate amount so that you can help to lead your design team and construction team to the goal line. Okay. It's important that you that you know what you want at the end of the project and know your end game. So make sure that you share your vision early on with your team. Okay, all those things would help you to avoid a lot of costly redesign. And Bill mentioned change order, and that could be extremely costly. Where do we start before we do anything with design? Similar to having your patient come to your office for the first time, you ask them a ton of questions. You want to know everything that you can get out of that patient so you can put together a treatment plan. Well, in your design, we call it design programming. That is a document that has tons of questions so that identify what you want, what you need, what you don't like, what you want to do now, and what you want to do later down the road into the future, and so on. So the design programming is a tool that you use to help you to stay focused and on track, as well as your team. Okay, so it's a tedious and long process, but it's a task that needs to be done, and that should be done at the very, very beginning of the process. If you buy an old building and you want to renovate, or you buy an existing practice you want to renovate, certainly it comes with a bundle of headaches and challenges too. You want to stay in practice, and everything needs to be kept clean, constantly protect from dust. The work has to be done and can only be done perhaps after hours and over the weekends, and those come with a premium price. So it's the duration may be a little longer, and it could be a little more costly. So of course, with remodeling, you also have the challenge of, can you get everything that you want? More likely not, simply because the limitation of space and what you can and cannot do. So if you are looking at a lease space or a tenant space that you want to lease, how big do you need? That is a pretty easy rule of thumb to follow. We use basically in the industry about the design ratio between 300 to 500 square feet per operatory. So if you have a practice that you want to build, let's say 6 operatories, then you need a space anywhere between 1,800 to 3,000 square feet. Okay, that just again, it all depends on what kind of amenities you want to have, creature comfort that you want to enjoy. So again, it's anywhere between 300 to 500 square feet per operatory. The cost is always has been one of the big major questions to ask first. So if you are coming to a lease space, the rule of thumb that we use is basically about $75 to $100 per square feet to do a tenant build out. And of course, that number can be a little less, a little more. It just all depends on a number of factors, like what part of the country, the type of aesthetic that you and material you want to use, and things of that nature. But it's a pretty conservative number to use when you're talking about a build out. If you're going to build a brand new building, then the cost, of course, will be more. You can look at spending between $250 to $500 per square foot. So if you're doing a tenant fit out for 6 operatories, it's going to cost you between $135,000 to $300,000. If you do a brand new building, it's going to cost you anywhere between $450,000 to $1.5 million. Now, if you are looking at a brand new building and you are looking at site, whether it's a brand new building you're going to build or a potential lease space, there's a number of factors that you should at least look at when you look at the site. Is that what is the terrain look like? So that it will provide you with a net buildable and usable landmass. The building setback would have an effect of where you can place the building. The location of the easement can affect a lot of things. It can affect cost. So those need to be looked at. The amount of parking requirements, and whether you're going to have dedicated parking for your staff and patients, or is it going to be in one single place? Building solar orientation, that is rather important aspect as well. As if you have your operatories on the west side of the building, there's going to be a lot of moaning and groaning, and you certainly don't want to have any of that. Access and circulation within your site is also important, because the more difficult it is to get into your facility, the more likely they'll find the guy next door or down the street to go to. Okay, so make it a little easier on your patient. Equipment is is things that you need to identify, the system you're going to use, how much you're going to buy, who you're going to work with, and things like that. That need to be identified early on, because once your team come on board, the architects and engineer, they will be right on top of you, wanting to have that stuff like yesterday. And the best, the best people that's equipped to answer those questions are usually your dental equipment specialist. Okay, so they play an important role in this whole thing. So bring them on early. So start the conversation, and then have that information available for your team to work on. Okay. So when you start designing your space, there's a few things that you want to achieve. Certainly, you want to have improve your clinical production. You want it to be efficient. You want your traffic flow to have perfect and as low as possible. When you deal with technologies and things like that, you should consider not just what you need today, but you also look at how you can integrate it and change it and upgrade and all that stuff down the road. You want to have the aesthetic of your facility designed so it's calm and comfortable. Theme is great, but it has a shelf life, so be conservative, but have it tasteful. And your building, you need to take consideration for what you need now, but also if you're going to stand in the same location, you should take that into consideration and make sure the design can accommodate that, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel once you get to that point. Okay, so the facility is going to be when you lay it out, there's a number of zones, and the first is because the zone it basically isolates the type of traffic that goes through there, and it keeps the function from getting all mixed up, and everybody don't need to be where they shouldn't be. Okay, so your public zone would that includes your waiting room and your children area, and possibly for the facility within that zone or near it. Okay, and then you have your administrative area zone, which would be your receptions and your business office and your consultation. That is, if you use consultation. And then the next critical zone is your clinical area. Your treatment room, your sterilization module, your lab, and x-ray. All of that is your clinical area should be pretty condensed, as condensed as possible, so that way your staff don't have to run from one end of the building to the next. So and also it consolidate your all of your infrastructures and utilities, so it keeps your costs down. It's the most efficient layout if you can keep everything out of the clinical area in a very tight footprint. Okay, and then your staff area. Locating your staff area, that should also give some consideration, because you want them, you want to make it easy for your staff to get to, because you don't want them to get it too close to the other areas, so that when the staff gets a little noisy, the patient don't have to can't hear them and things like that. So it's important. Staff area, if you look at your site and and in relation to how the space will be laid out, it does affect how the traffic of your staff coming and going into the building. So it needs a little bit of attention when it comes to looking at your staff area design. Okay, so just make your dream, dream big. Whatever your dream is, let the team know, and that way they can help you to achieve that. Okay, cost is a major important factor, but you don't need to build a Taj Mahal, but you can get it. You can get that level of aesthetic and luxury, but if it's done right, it shouldn't cost you a ton of money. Okay, whatever you do it right the first time. So invest the time, invest the money, and the energy is required, so that way you don't have to redo it, because redoing it is going to cost you a lot more the second time. Okay, And anyway, like I say, quality can be achieved, but it doesn't have to be expensive. I am done with my little sector, so I'm going to hand it back over to Jim, and then let him take over. Okay. There you go, Jim.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. As Han has very eloquently went through some of the portions of the process, my part within the organization is obviously the architectural component. As a registered architect, numerous years, more than I want to admit, in the practice. But bottom line, our mission is to provide a service that's beyond our clients' expectations as we create those solutions for what you're looking for. Really, this process that we go down starts with several steps. It's very crucial that we, in fact, follow those steps, because without some kind of roadmap or guide, it's very easy to become lost and effectively lose a lot of money and time and energy. So let's go through the process very quickly. Step one is the team building, which is really our foundation. That's how we process through and build upon this team, different individuals, but the core group will be you as the owner, your accountant, your banker or lender, your attorney, obviously your dental equipment specialist, your architect, and your construction entity, whether that's a builder, construction manager, or a general contractor. Step two of the process is the program planning pre-design, which Han had gone through some components of. But really, the program is a written compilation of needs, wants, and desires. It's much like sitting down with your patient and reviewing a treatment plan. At the conclusion of this step, you should expect a complete written report that covers all aspects of your future plan, i.e. it becomes the roadmap. Without this, you're basically starting off down a path without the roadmap. It might be okay for a weekend trip, but definitely not a good idea when you're dealing with brick and concrete and steel. Step three in the process is schematic design. That's a terminology that we in the architectural profession utilize. What basically is we take your program and we as the team facilitate and establish the general scope, the conceptual design of the project to scale the relationship among all the building components. So for example, you have an existing facility. Yours may or may not be in this kind of fashion, but this happens to be an example that we helped Dr. Angie down in Findlay, Ohio. She bought this 1960 urology office and then called us in and said, help, what can you do? We came up with some conceptual design ideas, all done in 3 dimensions, utilizing the computer 3D technology to really help her visualize what we wanted to potentially build for her and helped her move through the process. Another example, Dr. Lupinati and his group over in Harrisburg have this existing facility. They came to us and said, help, we need to transition between our lower level and our upper level, and how do we do that at the same time make it efficient? We've come up with a couple schemes, one a very traditional looking scheme, and then second a very modern looking scheme. This is currently at this stage right now. They're determining what direction they want to go for. Next in the step is this design development. That's where we take you, the client's ideas that have been converted into schematic design, and we refine those. We talk about bringing in the disciplines of mechanical, electrical, structural, plumbing, talk about areas of finishes, talk about materials, what kind of materials are going to be in the floors, the walls, the ceilings, and help you through that decision-making portion. Next is the all-important, what's often referred to as construction documents. Most people call them blueprints. Actually, it's a generic term for a very small part of this step. These are the documents that we create that actually help the builder to give you a price, a specific price, get you a permit, and eventually that they build from to create your final solution or your final project, whether it's a renovation or a new build. Looks something like this, very complicated, but really it's how we communicate directly with the builder, and he now knows from what he sees there what to build, how to build it, and what sizes and relationships they should be. Next in the process is the bidding and negotiation, and that's where we take those blueprints, construction documents. You either integrate a construction manager, but we help you to send these out to specific trades or general contractors, and they then bid and eventually give prices back, and then eventually negotiate those prices so that we can help get you competitive bidding so you can get your product, your final solution, for the very best value, least amount of dollars. Next in the process is, of course, the construction. That's where, after the permits have been acquired, the groundbreaking begins. There are several steps that are required. You know, all the trades can actually start construction of the project. Shop drawings are part of this. Product submittals, other documentation, including something called site observation, where we, as the architectural component, actually go out and view the construction during numerous times during the project to make sure that it's actually being constructed at the level and the quality that is in fact required by what we put out in the construction documents. Obviously, you get things like this. You can see Dr. Angie's project there under construction in a couple places. Last in the process is the move-in/occupancy. Finally got to that day where the architect comes through with your builder and along with yourself, and we do a punch list. Punch list is where you actually can go through, make sure every component is done to the quality of the drawings and specifications, review final applications for the payment to the builder, and then obviously the contractor or construction manager would get your occupancy permit, your as-built drawings, all the manuals and warranties, and educate you on your building systems, because there will be quite a few of those. And then lastly, the great move-in and the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Give you an idea of some of the things, quality. And remember, we talked about that 1960 existing facility for Dr. Angie? Well, this is it. This is what you saw in the ad for this webinar, a drastic change. And she's very, very, very happy with the final result. So with that, we move into the questions and answers. And obviously, we want to also put out there that we, as an organization, have a component known as a free consultation to anyone who asks. So at no charge, we will sit down and personally review your current situation and identify a plan of attack so that we can help solve your particular problems together. So I believe with that we have received, Robert, we have received a couple questions, and we'd like to go over them as long as I can find it. There we go. The question was, it was from Robert in Cincinnati. $250 a foot seems high. Costs here around Cincinnati seem lower than that. Han, do you want to address that, since your component of, you talked about the dollars and cents?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. The cost, of course, it all depends on the type of construction, the type of material, you know, the weather, and the cost of labor and cost of material. All of that could cost could cost your dollar per square foot to go up or down. So it's really, yeah, $250 seems a little high, but that could apply to, it depends on you in Ohio or you in New York. Of course, in Ohio, it costs a little less, but in Ohio, you also have the union to deal with and stuff like that. So in every project, it's the cost per square foot would have to be specifically, your particular